Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you for joining us on this Tuesday evening, wherever you're tuning in from. For some of you guys that are, probably a little bit earlier in time zone than I am, thanks for joining us in your late afternoon. So for everyone that's on here, I'm sure you were invited or you probably saw, a post somewhere about getting into real estate and especially getting into real estate with no income or credit requirement. So I'm really excited today to share with you a not necessarily a, I think the really beautiful thing is what this will be is another tool in your tool belt. And that's a really great thing about real estate is that no matter what it is that you're up to, it's about how many tools do you have in your tool belt that are going to suit, a specific situation, going to be able to effectively utilize that tool. So I'm really excited today to share with you a tool that I think will really serve you, especially for certain real estate deals that you're looking to get into. And it's really different from anything that's out there on the market right now. So, we've been sharing this and going full force in this for probably the past, especially the past year here when we've, kind of really picked up here. So, welcome to all of you and excited to share this with all of you. So before we jump in, I love to see you all on camera. If you are safe to do so, of course, if you're driving, definitely be safe first. But if you're available, I would love to see you on camera. I love it to be more interactive that way, so that you're not just hearing from me. Give lots of opportunities for you guys to jump in and be able to ask questions as well. So let's jump right in. So first of all, I'm curious who here would love to jump into real estate or love to jump into real estate with no money down, no income requirement, be able to jump in with, if anything, maybe even very little money out of your pocket. I'm really curious who that would really serve on this call. And you can jump in the chat and say me or yes. Love to hear from you. So I think that's kind of the big question that always comes up into play is around capital and access. How do I get into real estate with capital? How do I get into real estate with access to capital? And so what I'm really excited about is to share with you, I think, a solution to both of those questions, both of those challenges. But first, before we jump into that, a little bit about me. You're probably wondering, who is this guy here? So I'm Paul Can. I'm a sales director at MDLQ. Myself and my business partners, we've been in the real estate industry for over 35 years, collectively specializing in a multitude of different types of real estate deals and transactions. So tax deeds, pre-foreclosures, creative financing, wholesaling, quick flips. Definitely in terms of a lot of these different areas, we have a great amount of experience in. Before we jump into that, I want to share a story with all of you, and I want to share a story about two guys. And the really amazing thing about these two guys is they were able to generate over $2.4 million in software development. And they were able to do this without by acquiring over $1 million worth of C-suite executives to run their software as a service company. And the really crazy thing about this is that they had no prior knowledge at all in terms of from a coding perspective or from a programming ability. So they didn't have any type of experience within this particular field. And in addition to that, they were able to create an automated real estate funding program and deliver over $2 million in a few months. And aside from these, very impressive numbers around, what they were able to generate, the most amazing part of this is that they were able to do so with no money out of pocket. And who are these two guys? You're probably wondering, in terms of, be able to create all of this, not only create all of this in a very short period of time, but with no money out of pocket. Well, these two guys are Carlton and Tehran. So those two are the founders of MDLQ. And the really brilliant thing that Carlton and Tehran have brought to the table, isn't just in terms of, their own previous experiences, but their mindset in terms of how they approach business and how they approach real estate, how they approach being able to be creative in utilizing the resources that you have and be able to leverage other resources to be able to get to where you want to go ultimately. And the type of mindset that they incorporate into both of these organizations, both of these companies that they've been able to successfully build comes from Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant. I'm curious if any of you have heard of the cash flow quadrant. If you have, just put yes in the chat if you have heard of it before. For those of you that have heard of Robert Kiyosaki or before, for those of you that aren't familiar with him, he's one of the call it experts in the real estate field. He wrote a very, very popular book that is very well known called Rich Dad Poor Dad, which really revolutionized the way that people thought about money, thought about how they make their money as well. So instead of going from the perspective of his dad that from the perspective was poor, he got to also illustrate what really made his other dad rich. And that really came down to the cash flow quadrant in terms of the type of mindset that both of his dads showed in different ways. So what exactly is this cash flow quadrant? So for those of you that are familiar, this is a little bit of a review, but I just want to kind of illustrate what this looks like. There's two sides of the quadrant. So one side is employee and self-employed. And on the other side is big businesses, which have a system to generate money, and investors. And here's the thing that is commonly a misconception around the cash flow quadrant is that you have to be on a certain side in order to make money. And that's not true, because here's the thing is that you can actually get rich in any one of these quadrants. You can get rich as an employee working for someone else. You can get rich being self-employed and running your own business. You can be rich in a big business having systems to run your business, or you can be an investor. In all four of those quadrants, you can get rich. You can make an incredible amount of money in all four of those quadrants. So what exactly is what differentiates one side from the other? Well, here's the thing is that it's not about making money, because you can make money in any one of those quadrants. When you think about it from perspective of real estate, many different ways in which that you can approach real estate. But the thing about it is, at the end of the day, is that it's not about the amount of money you make, but how you make that money. And that is the difference between the left side of the quadrant and the right side of the quadrant. The left side of the quadrant trades time for money. So when you think about it from a certain perspective, right? You think about it from, employee perspective. You're putting a certain amount of hours and you're trading it for money. Same thing with being self-employed, right? You're running your own business. So it's still time that you're trading for money. Nothing wrong with that. It's just, what are you doing in order to make the money? Versus on the other side, big businesses and investors utilize money to make more money. So that's where you hear those phrases of, I'm making money in my sleep. So I'm making money when I am, running other businesses and not having to involve me. That's the difference between the two, is being able to, differentiate and choose for yourself as well, which side of the quadrant you want to be in. One where you're trading your time for money, or on the other side where you're having your money make more money for you. And that's kind of the difference between, when you think about it from a real estate standpoint. From a wholesaler standpoint, that's the left side of the quadrant, where you're trading time for money. So, you are putting up bandit signs, you're knocking on doors, you're negotiating with the seller, right? You're going and trying to find these deals with these homes, right? And so that's you're trading your time for that money. There's tons of wholesalers that make a ton of money. That isn't what's kind of in question here. It's about how you want to go about it. From the other perspective, with investors, you'll rarely see them do that, because they are either utilizing the resources that they have to be able to free up their time, to be able to maximize their time, to be able to do something else so that they can make even more money. And so that's the thing, is that whether you're on one side or the other, there's different ways that you can make money. But what this workshop is about is, it's going to be for people that are maybe starting out in a wholesaler perspective, but looking to move into an investor mindset. Or maybe you're interested in finding out more, trying to find out, okay, what other types of tools might be available for me, right? And maybe you're interested in eventually moving into that. If you are someone that loves wholesaling, wants to stay in wholesaling, wants to make, your full career and your business in wholesaling, that is amazing. That's awesome. This probably might not be the tool for you. But if you're interested in, possibly the other side of what it might look like, or maybe being able to have tools so that, in the right deal, yeah, you're going about it from a wholesaler point of view, but in other deals, you also have this other tool belt to go about it from an investor point of view. This is the workshop for you. And you are the type of person, you're the person that I want to talk to. So here's my question is that what if you can invest in a property with little to no money out of pocket? I'm curious who here would be interested in that. Like who here would that really support? And you put your hand up, you can put your virtual hand up, you put in the chat, me, I'd love to hear from you. Who here would that really support? And I'm assuming if you're here, that's probably something that, might pique your interest. And here's a really amazing thing is that today you'll walk away with 3 different things that you'll learn about. Number 1 is how to get into properties with no money down. Number 2 is getting funding without credit or income requirements. And number 3 is how do you leverage your current portfolios and cash to go further? So that's for people that already have a portfolio and want to go further with it. So we'll dive right into that. So before we jump into that, what I want to share with you is all of that I'm talking about. What does it lead to? It leads to deed funding. And you're probably wondering, okay, what is deed funding in the first place, right? So deed funding, I want you to think about it from the perspective of a title max. For those of you that know what a title max is, I'll kind of explain from that perspective. Those of you that don't know what a title max is, I want to kind of break it down for what that looks like. So with the title max, usually you'll see that with cars is a very common example. So for example, when you have a car, you have a title. You drive up to a title max, you give them your title, they fund you against your title. So they give you money against your title, they keep your title, they hold on to your title, you drive away with your car and the money. Then when you come back, you pay off the amount that they funded you, you get your title back and you drive away. Now, say if you never show up ever again, you disappear off the face of the earth and never come back ever again, they keep your title. It's as simple as that. And that's what deed funding is. It's the exact same concept applied to real estate. So what exactly does that mean? And what's kind of the difference between deed funding and other commercial or even conventional or even non-conventional types of financing? Well, number 1 is that it is not for consumers. What does that mean? It is not for consumers as in the average real estate consumer that is looking to purchase a home as their primary residence. So this is people that are shopping for properties on Zillow or Redfin. They're looking to purchase a house at as is value or very close to the market value. This is not for that. This is for investors. This is for those that are looking to discounted and distressed properties. This is what works best. This is what this product is best suited for. It is also not a loan. So we are capital partners, which means we come in alongside you as a capital partner in the deal. And I'll explain a little bit more in a bit here about how that works. And we purchase the property on your behalf. So there's a difference in that because unlike a conventional financing institution, which lends you the money and then puts a lien against the property, what we're doing here is we're coming in and we're purchasing the property on your behalf as your capital partner. And then you, as the partner in this deal, get to also decide what gets to happen with this property afterwards, which I'm going to explain a little bit more in just a bit here. So there's 2 different tracks, first of all, for how deed funding works. There's one track, which is purchasing. Purchasing means that you don't own the property currently. So you're looking to purchase the property. So from that perspective, the benefits with deed funding is that you now are able to have access to capital and you're able to leverage the money that you have to go further for you. Instead of tying up money in a property because of the down payment that you got to pay, usually it's call it 10, 15, 20% that you're going to put down. Instead of tying up that money, you can now utilize that money that you had to go further for you, maybe get into several different properties. And I'll explain a little bit about how that works in a bit here. Now, for currently owned properties, that means that you currently have a portfolio of properties that you own aside from your primary residence. You can leverage and scale at a much faster pace. So you can leverage what you currently have to grow your investment portfolio further. So how does this look different from the current real estate purchasing process? So I'll kind of explain that a little bit here. So number one, this is kind of the current real estate purchasing process. So you're going to find a property, right? You're going to negotiate the price. Then you're going to go to a financial institution and go to a conventional or non-conventional financing institution, and you're going to get financing approved through requirements. I don't know about you, but when I had to go through these different, institutions myself, they need tons of different paperwork. They need to submit tons of information. I think I submitted probably 20, 30 pages of different PDFs, about income requirements or credit requirements, your previous experience in the business, so on and so forth. They want to see, what else you have maybe in your portfolio. They want to see your history. So there's a lot of different things that you got to submit in order to get approved for financing. So that in itself, is a pretty lengthy process and a pretty cumbersome process as well. Then after you get approved, right, you pay your down payment. After you pay your down payment, you obtain the loan, they put a lien on the property, you purchase the property, and then you go and do whatever you want with it, right? You're going to fix it, you're going to flip it, whatever it is, right? Put it back on the market to sell. So that's the conventional real estate purchasing process. Now, with deed funds, it's going to require you thinking about the process a little bit different because it is unconventional. It is outside the box. It is different. It's a bit more, it's a bit creative in terms of how we go about it. So let me explain how it is a little bit different. Number one is that you're still finding the property and negotiating the price. That part doesn't change. The part that does change is that instead of going to submit your information to apply for financing, you're going to submit the property for funding. Because with deed funds, it is 100% it's backed 100% collateral backed by the asset. So it's asset based. So we're not looking at your particular information. We want to look at the property itself. What happens is then the capital partner comes in and purchases the property on your behalf. So they come in as a capital partner. What happens simultaneously is that there's a buyback and lease agreement that is signed, which means that in the time of the term that you select, or all the way up until the end of the term, you have the exclusive rights to, number one, buy back the property whenever you want. And there's no penalty for, paying it off early, prepayment penalty or anything like that. And you can do whatever you like in the time being. So if you want to fix it, you want to flip it, you want to hold on to it, you want to rent it out, that is completely up to you. You have full reins to go do whatever you want with the property during the term. And then at the very end of the term or before the end of the term, you can either buy it back yourself or you can sell it for profit. So the only amount that we obtain back is the funding itself. Everything that is over and above, you keep as profit. So this is kind of what that purchase processing looks like. For now, currently owned properties, it's a little bit different, but very similar in terms of overall process. So I'll kind of talk a little bit about what is a little bit different. So instead of submitting the property that you are looking to purchase for funding, you're submitting your currently owned property for funding. So we're looking at the currently owned property. What happens is that same thing, the title is transferred to the capital partner. Then you receive the funding, and then you can do whatever you like with the funding. So, whether you want to get into one project or multiple projects with that money is completely up to you. You want to take a vacation with it, you can do that too. You can do whatever you like with that money. That's completely up to you. Same thing all the way up until the end of the term or before the end of the term. You can buy back the property, maybe using profits from another project you were in, or, however you want to go about doing that. Or you can, sell it for profit. If you're like, I was looking to sell that property anyways, you can sell that property. Anything that's over and above, once again, the funding amount, you keep as profit. So what are the benefits overall to deed funding? Number one is that there is low monthly interest. Number two is that you select the term. So you have, full reins on that. The term is up to 18 months. There's no prepayment penalty. We fund as little as 3 weeks. You can also defer your closing costs as well, all the way to the end. So potentially you're not even paying anything out of pocket at the very beginning, all until you sell the property at the end or buy back the property at the end. There's no credit requirement and there's no income requirement as well. So I went through a ton of information here before I jump into more of kind of like the details with some numbers. I just want to pause here to see if there's any questions. Any questions at all in terms of anything that I covered? Nope. Clear as mud. All right. Okay, I'm going to keep going then. Of course, you can, ask the questions in the chat and I can address them a little bit later as well. All right, so I'm going to jump into more of the details. You're probably wondering, okay, Paul, how exactly does this work? I want to see more of the numbers. I want to see more of the details. Great. So I'm gonna break it down from a purchasing perspective first. So with purchasing, this is only for traditional real estate. So what we look at is the as is value and fund up to 60% of that. So really important differentiation here is that we look at the as is value. We don't look at your purchasing price. We also don't look at your after repair costs as well. Reason for that is that number one, we don't base it off of the after repair value, after repair value, ARV. Oh my God, I can't talk today. Because it's based off of a theoretical number that may or may not happen. As we all know, when you get into, fixing and flipping, get into the house, it might end up as a totally different condition than when you thought when you were going into it, right? What you thought you were getting into. So it might not happen, from that perspective. So we don't want to base it off of a number that is theoretical, right? Number two is that we don't look at the purchase price because it actually works in your favor. Because here's the thing, with the as is value, it means that when you are selling that home right now without putting a single penny into it, what is the value of it? And if you're able to negotiate the deal, which a lot of times you're getting these deals for, 40, 50, 60 cents on the dollar, it works in your benefit. Because here's the thing, if you're able to negotiate the home for under 60%, so you get it for 50 cents on the dollar, we still fund up to 60%. So now you have some wiggle room for debt servicing or renovation costs, whatever it is that you want to use it towards. So it works in your favor from that perspective. So there's, 3 different tiers of terms. So 0 to 6, 7, 12, all the way up to 18 months. And you do have the option to defer your closing expenses up to 12 months. So that's purchasing. Now, say if you currently own the property. With currently owned properties, you have 2 different options. One is that you have the option to defer your monthly payments as well, which means you're paying literally nothing out of pocket all the way until you buy back the property or you flip the property, you sell the property. So from that perspective, for deferring monthly payments for currently owned properties, we fund up to 50% of the as is value. And from a term perspective, it goes up to 12 months. And once again, you still have the option to defer your monthly, your closing expenses as well. Now, with currently owned, say if you're like, hey, I don't need to defer my monthly expenses, I'm looking to just pay them monthly, that's totally fine. Now, you have the other option here, which is the monthly payment option. And for this, we fund up to 65% of the as is value. Now, asset type wise, it goes for traditional real estate. And this also works for tax deeds as well. And I'll kind of explain a little bit about how tax deeds work in a little bit here. It's quite unique. We're the only organization out there that funds against tax deeds because it's an uninsured deed. A lot of times financial institutions aren't going to fund that, but we do have a way to do that through deed funds. So I'll talk about that in a little bit here. So same thing goes up to 18 months from a term perspective. And you can once again defer your closing expense up to 12 months. Now you're probably wondering, okay, great, Paul, but what are all the fees? So we want to be really upfront with the fees as well in terms of what is involved. So number one is that upfront in the application, after you go through the application process, there is a due diligence fee. So there's a due diligence that's done before you proceed forward, which is $190 per asset. And that will be credited to you at closing, but if the deal doesn't go through, it won't be refunded. And of course, you can take the due diligence, the BPO, and you can go elsewhere and you can utilize that as well, for sure. But here's the thing: is that this due diligence process is there so that you at the very beginning can decide whether or not the funding amount that comes out works for you or not before you proceed forward. Right. So you can decide at that point. So if it works for you, we move forward and then we move into closing, and it's quite quick from there. And as you can see, it's pretty typical in terms of overall closing expenses, transfer taxes, your preparation costs. There is a 4-point origination fee as well that's due at closing, and other kinds of transactional related costs will be due at closing as well. So once again, just to remind you, you can also defer your closing costs. So if you don't want to pay your closing costs upfront. You can defer that until the very end of the term as well. But in terms of due diligence fee, it's there because once again, we want to make sure that there is skin in the game for everybody involved, that it's quality properties that are coming through the pipeline and not just kind of properties that are, you're throwing them up against the wall like spaghetti and kind of seeing what sticks. So we want to make sure that, they're quality properties that are coming through as well, that you are actually, the fundee is really considering to get funding on. So in terms of what you can use this for, you can use this for land, commercial, residential properties. They're all accepted, anything from, fix and flips. I talked about tax deed leveraging. The really amazing thing about this is that you can, for tax deeds, be able to get funding. Like when you think about, for example, I'm going to use Georgia for tax deeds. For Georgia, when you buy, say, $100,000 of a tax deed, pay $100,000, the property is worth $180,000. You sit on that $100,000 for a whole year before you can redeem it at the end of the year. So instead of sitting on it for a whole year, what you can do is you can actually leverage that tax deed and get either 65% of the as-is value, so 65% of the 180, or you can get your purchase price, whichever one is lower. So in this particular situation that I am illustrating, you have your 65% of the 180, or you have the $100,000 that you paid for the tax deed. In the situation, the $100,000 is lower. So you actually get 100% of the funding amount, 100% that you funded into this tax deed back to leverage into another tax deed that you want to purchase, or, another property that you want to fix and flip, whatever it is, you can leverage that amount. And I believe you can do that, I think, up to 7 times with a particular property, which is pretty cool. So that's definitely one of the strategies there. Equity cash outs, wholesalers that are looking to fund their own deals. So pre-foreclosure, vacation home, RV parks, self-storage, whatever you think of, you can probably utilize this for deed funds. So I want to share this illustration with you because this is the part that makes me the most excited about deed funds and what it can do, which I think is so different and really sets it apart from what is possible with deed funds. So say this particular property is worth $400,000. 60% of the funding is $240,000. Now, if you look at a 6-month term, you're looking to fix and flip this property, including deferred closing costs, it's going to cost you, from a monthly interest rate perspective, about $3,048. Okay. So you calculate that out for the full 6 months, that brings you to just over $18,000. Now, say your purchase price is 50 cents on the dollar. So you're purchasing this property for $200,000 with this property. Now, here's the great thing is that you still get funding up to $240,000. So 60% funding. And so whatever is left over after your debt servicing, you still have $21,000 left over for you to fund your fix, for you to fund into other things that you want to do. And that is $0 as a totality, the entire transaction out of your pocket. So this allows you to get into properties with literally no money out of your pocket, with money left over that you can fund into whatever it is that you are, fixing and flipping, or maybe you want to, flip it into an Airbnb, whatever, and purchase furniture and things like that. That's totally up to you for how you want to utilize that amount. So this is the part that makes me the most excited because you can literally get into properties with no money out of pocket or very, very little money out of pocket. So who is deed funds not for? So as I explained, this is not for consumers. So this is anybody that is looking to purchase the property with the intention to live in that property as their primary residence, and cannot be utilized in terms of if they're looking to leverage their current primary residence as collateral as well. So that is not what deed funds is for. So it can't be used for that. But who it is for is wholesalers, investors, mortgage brokers, anyone that's really looking to get into real estate, looking to, whatever types of real estate deals you're trying to get into. This can really work for that, especially if you're looking at getting to distressed properties or discounted properties. So in terms of the process itself, very, very simple. This is literally what it all looks like. So, within, call it a 3-week time frame, you go from start of the process to all the way to closing. So number one is that you're going to complete the application process, which is going to be a form that you'll fill out online. which mostly is asking about information on the property. Number two is that then you move into an entrance interview with the deed funds as well as the funder. This is only for first-time applicants. So as you come back over and over, you don't need to go through that over and over again. Number three is then a due diligence package is ordered. And then after that, if that works for you in terms of the funding amount that comes out, a term sheet is sent to you as the fundee, you review it, you sign it, and then we close in as little as 3 weeks, and you select the title company as well. So I'm going to pause there because that was a lot of information that I went over. Any questions around anything that I covered? No questions? Clear as mud? Awesome. I must be rocking it then because there's no questions. So in terms of, from there, obviously, if you have any types of questions, you can reach out to us as well, at deedfunds.com or myself, Paul at deedfunds.com. And there's my number there that you can reach out to. Now, with that said, I'm really curious for those of you that are on the call, how many of you can feel like you can utilize deed funds as a product itself, like use it for yourself, or you know somebody that might be able to utilize deed funds? And you can put, me in the chat as well, or lift up your hand. So if you feel like you can utilize deed funds yourself, or somebody in your network that can really benefit from deed funds, and you're kind of wondering, hey, like, how can I get more involved in this? Well, here's the really beautiful thing is that we created a program just for that. We wanted to create a program that will help you make money while doing what you're already doing. So whatever it is, that is, if you're into wholesaling, or you're already an investor, or maybe you are working another career altogether, and this is kind of one of your side hustles or something that you just want to get into from an investing standpoint. We wanted to make something that will help you be able to put more money in your pocket to continue doing what you're doing. So with that said, we have an affiliate and an agent program that we created. So I'll explain a little bit about the difference between the two. With an affiliate program, extremely simple. An affiliate, basically, your main role is to share the opportunity. You're really just promoting deed funds. So you're sharing the link. You don't have to worry about any of the client management stuff. You're really just sharing the opportunity with people. If they have questions, then they'll reach out through your link, and they can reach out to us directly. From an affiliate standpoint, we created a profit share program. And what this means is that you, as an affiliate, for every deal that comes through, you get 25% profit share. And profit share is based on the total profit on the deal, which is 1%. So if, for example, the funding is $250,000, 1% of that is $2,500. So you get 25% of that $2,500. That's kind of how it would work. So this is for affiliate, right? So very, very low touch. Doesn't involve a lot of time and energy on your standpoint. Really, it's just sharing the opportunity. So if you know people that are already in real estate or can utilize this, it's just about sharing it with them. Now, if you're thinking, well, here's the thing, Paul, is that I think I can not only benefit from this myself, but I can really see other people in my network benefit from this. I want to be more involved, and I want to get a bigger piece of the pie. Well, the great thing about that is that we have an agent program for that as well. The difference between being an agent and an affiliate, the only difference is that as an agent, you're more involved in the relationship management part. So say afterwards, they learn about deed funds, they want more information, they want their questions answered, they have different concerns. You're going to be the one that's going to be handling that all the way up until they sign the term sheet. So as an agent, you're really managing the relationship. You're really answering their questions, going through the process with them. And then after that, once they, get that due diligence done and they sign the term sheet, the funder takes over from there. And then they are the ones that are going to provide all the information until closing. And, you don't have to worry about anything beyond that. So as an agent, your profit share starts at 45% and goes all the way up to 65%. So it's a tiered system. The really great thing about this is that, number one, it's not capped. So it's not like you stop at a certain point. You can go, you can process as many deals as you like. You can process as little deals as you like. It's completely up to you. Number two is that it's not like it resets after a year, like, you get up to the second tier and then you're reset after 1 year or a certain time frame. It's for the lifetime that you're an agent with deed funds. So whatever level you get up to, you can keep going, all the way up to, when you get to the 31 plus, you just stay at that level. You don't go down, you don't shift from there. So you stay at whatever level you end up reaching. So here's the great thing about the agent program as well, is that if you also are planning on getting into deals yourself, the great thing about the agent program is you can double dip. What do I mean by that? Is that you can process your own deals, which means that you can literally get a property under contract, and you can process and the application yourself, and you get a kickback. So you get a profit share from that deal. And that's the part I think that is most amazing about this, because I don't know any other program that rewards you for getting into your own deals, rewards you for getting into your own real estate projects. So this is the exact thing that does that. So you're able to not only, of course, benefit from the funding, but able to get a share of the profit as well yourself for processing the deal yourself as an agent. So that's the agent program. Now, really simple, just in terms of what the whole process looks like as an agent. The main thing is you're managing the deal and the team. If you decide to build a team under you, that's completely up to you as well. You're going to review the application with the fundee. You're going to attend the entrance exams with the fundee, and this is only upon their first time applying. Once the due diligence package is ordered, the funder sends a term sheet to the fundee. The fundee signs it. They review it. After they sign, they review it and then sign it. And then the funder takes over from there. They're going to provide updates all the way until closing, and then you get paid within 1 week after closing. It's really as simple as that. So on top of that, we wanted to reward people, great people, for bringing other great people to the organization, and also sharing this great opportunity with more amazing people. So we also created a referral program on top of the agent and the affiliate program. So for every agent and affiliate that you bring, refer to MDLQ, you will receive a 10% profit share on every deal that the referral closes for the lifetime that the agent or affiliate is with the organization. So there's no cap on this. There's no limit on this. It's the lifetime that they're doing great work. You get rewarded for it, and so it's simply a bonus for you. It's a reward for you for bringing great people to the organization. Aside from, most of the time when it's a referral, you get a gift card. It's like, hey, here's like a lump sum. We wanted to make sure that you continue to benefit from that. And this doesn't take away from their commission. They already still get their full commission structure. And so this is a great way to build a passive income stream for you as well, because it's completely passive. You build that pipeline of agents and referrals that are under you, and it's only one level, so it's not it's not multi-level, so it's not like an MLM where just keep building people. It's just one layer, but it really is something to reward you for sharing this with more amazing people, and giving other people the opportunity to have this tool as well in the real estate tool belt. So with that as well, on top of that, we want to make sure that there's a fast start incentive and bonus for you. So in your first 60 days as an agent, you receive an extra $100 bonus for every single deal closed. And this is just, a little bit of an extra boost underneath your wings to help you get started when you first jump in as an agent. So I'll pause right there. Any questions about the agent program, affiliate program, anything that I shared overall with deed funds? I just want to pause there to answer any questions. Awesome. Nope. Travis, I think I came off mute.
Oh yeah, man. I'm clear on everything.
Awesome.
Good.
Fantastic.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yep.
All right.
Yeah, great to see you, Travis. Thanks for coming.
All right.
Awesome. Well, if this is something that is interesting for you, you want to learn a little bit more about it, I would encourage you to touch base or go back to the agent that referred you, in terms of the person that told you about the workshop. You can go back to them. They can probably answer your questions further if it comes up later, or give you more information at that time as well. Or you can visit us at, of course, deedfunds.com, where you can find out more information about deed funds, basically everything I covered here. But if you want to learn a little bit more, you can reach us there as well. All right. Well, if there's no questions, I will give you back your time. I appreciate all of you coming out on your Tuesday nights. Hopefully this was informative for you, is interesting for you, and look forward to seeing you as a part of the Deed Funds team.
Thanks, Paul.
All right. Thanks, Travis. All right. Take care. Have a great night.